I mean, right now it's not a big group, so it's not such a big issue. But still, it's a good thing to do is to mute.
Is there a document you want to present?
Unfortunately, I was not able to get the document over to you, so I don't have it. Unfortunately,
Okay.
that I was going to try to. I was trying to make a scan of it and so on, and it didn't work out. So I don't have it. If you want to, let's see. The problem is that, I mean, what I'm going to be sharing with you is an edited presentation of a rabbinic story that comes from many sources. It's in Sefer Ha-Agadah. It's in the Book of Legends. I don't think that's online, but you can try. The Book of Legends, Bialik Ravnitsky are the editors. And it's the story of one of the great sages of the time of the Mishnah, 2nd century CE. And it's episodes in his life, culled from, as I say, various sources in the rabbinic literature. So if we actually go beyond this week's time limit for dealing with this story, which I want to go actually through a couple of moments, different discrete moments in his career and in his life. Maybe by the time we get to this next week, I'll be able to get it over to you. And
which is the story? I found the book online, but it doesn't have the whole book. It has some sections.
So the story is Rabbi Eliezer, the elder Ben Hyrcanus. In the big one volume edition, what do you have? What are you looking at?
It's the Book of Legends, edited by Chaim Bialik.
Bialik,
yeah. It's a Google version of the book, so they don't always have the whole thing. So I can
right. So see if you can find page 221.
221.
That's in the edition that I have it from. The suspense is killing me.
Yeah, I'm looking. It's a little slow to load. It's a big book.
It is.
Somehow I got to page 900 here. I don't know.
Right. In Hebrew, it's 2 volumes. In English, it's 1 big fat volume.
No, that page is not shown. Sorry.
That's right, because they know the good stuff. They're not going to give you the good stuff. They're not going to give you the good stuff for free. So, all right. So I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do this in time for you. I'll go slow. And frankly, this is a story that's very dear to my heart. His whole life is quite an amazing life. Rabbi Eliezer ben Hyrcanus is one of the preeminent sages of the time of the Mishnah. He is one of the great teachers of Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva is more famous than his teacher, Rabbi Eliezer, but Rabbi Akiva couldn't have done anything without Rabbi Eliezer first. And we've actually looked at stories of Rabbi Akiva, and he was mentioned. He was often in conversation, argument with a colleague, Rabbi Yehoshua, and that will be very significant later on in the story. But he was a giant, one of the very the founding giants of rabbinic Judaism. So we're going to start with a version of a story that comes from, as I say, rabbinic texts, and they ask this question. It comes from a book called Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, which means the chapters of Rabbi Eliezer, and this is a wonderful midrash. It's a book of quite wonderful midrashim that follows the Torah from creation and gives a lot of legendary material. and it's called the chapters of Rabbi Eliezer. So even in the end, though, that the book is mostly not his teachings, it starts with Rabbi Eliezer. And this is how it starts. What were the beginnings of Rabbi Eliezer ben Hyrcanus? How did he start out? Before he was famous, who was he? At the age of 22, he had not yet studied Torah. Okay, so let's just take that in for a second. He's reached adulthood, and he has never studied Torah at all. What does that say about the family that he's growing up in? What does it say about his context? So here we go. His father was very rich and had many plowmen working for him. One day, Rabbi Eliezer's brothers were plowing arable land in a valley, while he was plowing a stony plot on a hill. So we have the picture of a man who's in the family business. They've got a lot of land holdings. The work has to be done to take care of all of this land. And he's part of a very wealthy family. And the choice of the family has been not to educate their child in Judaism. The guy has not had any Jewish education. Okay, so this is his background. We also now have seen that he's got brothers, and the rich father has sent out the brothers and given them jobs to do, and the brothers basically have an easier job than him. He's been assigned the really, really tough stuff, the plowing of the rocky fields on a hilltop. So he's doing his work. Presently, he sat down and wept. His father asked, "Why are you weeping? Are you distressed because you have to plow a stony plot? From now on, you'll plow arable land." What do we make of that little shorthand record of some family conversation there?
Well, he likes him. I'd also say he thought he was capable of doing the hard work.
Right.
Trust them to do the hard work.
Yeah. So what kind of picture of the father do we have from this?
Well, he was stern, but not impossible. He
Right.
sent him on a hard job, but when he saw that he was upset about it, the son, the father said, "Okay, we will give you a better plot of land."
Right.
I don't think we have evidence that he's stern.
Well, go ahead, John.
I don't think we have evidence that he's stern. We just know that he gave him the job. Doesn't mean he's stern.
So one way to imagine this, and I know that this is one way because this is the way I do it. One way to imagine this is that the father is supervising what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
maybe he's got his little horse or donkey, and he's going and he's checking out on his boys. He's checking out, you know, how they doing, because that's what's happening here, right? And, you know, in the middle of this very backbreaking work, Eliezer just sits down and breaks out weeping. We have to imagine that the father has not been with him the whole time, or do we? Is the father actually plowing the rocky soil along with his son? It doesn't say that. That would have been an essential setup. But anyway, he encounters his son, and his son is not doing what he's supposed to be doing. You know, this is I told you to go plow this land. What? So he says, why are you crying? You can't take it? All right. So I'll give you easier stuff. Why didn't he give him easier stuff to begin with? I think that's where Josie is picking up the stern quality here. You know, in the beginning, he just assigns things, and he doesn't really necessarily take into consideration what's going on. But
We don't know that from the story.
Well, again, these are all suggestions, speculations.
What did he say?
I said we don't know that from the story. For all we know, it could have been the youngest son who said, give me something good, give me something hard, give me something good." Okay, and out of kindness, you can do that.
So all these things are things for us to wonder about, and let's let the story proceed. So from now on, you will plow arable land. Okay, so that's the new arrangement. But he sat down on the arable land and wept again. So, Svet Gornish helfen, as they say. It didn't help. The solution didn't address the problem. When he went to work in the arable land, he also stopped and started crying. His father asked, why? You got it then. Why are you weeping? Are you distressed because you are plowing arable land in the heat of the valley? So Rabbi Eliezer, of course he's not Rabbi Eliezer yet, Rabbi Eliezer said, no. The father said, then why are you weeping? And Eliezer said, because I wish to study Torah. I don't want to be here. I want to go and study Torah. I don't want to be in the family business. The father said, but you are already 22 and you wish to study Torah? Take a wife. She'll bear children for you and you'll take them to school. So I think that we do have a little bit of a cumulative set of indications about what kind of man we're talking about. He's got it all figured out, and he's dismissive of his own son's desires, and he says, "All right, you'll worry about it later when you're more settled down. Look, be a man, get a career, settle down, and whatever dreams you have, give them to your children." Nevertheless,
because that always works 100% of the time too. By the way,
that always works.
Always works. Yes.
Always.
Make them do what you didn't do. It works perfectly every time.
Right. Nevertheless, Rabbi Eliezer resolved, I will go and study Torah in the presence of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai lived at the time of the destruction of the Second Temple. He was a rabbinic leader in 70 CE. So that gives us now a little timing. Eliezer is born somewhere like 50 CE or even a little later, because Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's career continues after the destruction of the temple. He is the hero of Rabbinic Judaism who established the Academy of Yavne. He's the person who actually saved the Rabbinic Judaism from being destroyed within the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans when the temple itself was burnt down. That's a whole fascinating story for another time. So Rabbi Eliezer says, I want to go to Harvard. I want to go and study with the best. His father retorted, you will not get a taste of food until you have plowed the entire furrow. Okay, John, what do you think? Is this guy stern?
Yeah, he seems stern. He could be protective. It's a little bit, I mean, this is the destruction of the temple. It's like a kid in Germany saying, I want to go to yeshiva in 1939. Maybe his father says, no, you're going to do something else. So,
right.
So the jury's still out.
Stern does not mean the devil, but he's definitely a tough guy who has very definite opinions about what his son should be doing, what's right for his son. He's not wishing his son bad. He just wishes what's good for his son according to his understanding of what's good for his son. So now he's threatening him, and he says, if you don't keep working, I'm not giving you any supper. Rabbi Eliezer got up early and plowed a full furrow. But then his heifer fell and broke its leg. He said, my heifer's leg broke for my sake. And he quickly took off and went to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So he sees this as a divine sign. He wanted to comply with his father's instructions. He was doing the work. But then when the cow breaks its leg and can't do any more plowing, he says, God is telling me something. Now I'm hightailing it out of here. It is said that day was the eve of the Sabbath, and he had tasted nothing from 6 hours before Sabbath Eve until 6 hours after the Sabbath's departure. And so there was a custom to enter the Sabbath with a good appetite. so that when you sat down to your Friday night meal, you would doubly enjoy it. So he hadn't eaten anything all Friday afternoon. But meanwhile, he ran away to the academy of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And now he hasn't eaten anything all through Shabbos because he's not at home anymore. He ran away. And Shabbos is over and half the night has gone by and he hasn't eaten anything. He has nothing to sustain himself with. As he was walking along the road, he saw a pebble in a cultivated field. He picked it up and he put it in his mouth. So he's sucking on pebbles to try to alleviate his hunger. When he came before Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he sat down and wept. So I think we're getting a little bit of a motif here that keeps on getting repeated. He's overcome with emotion and he's crying. He comes before this master that he has dreamt of studying with, and he sits down and he just breaks down crying. "Why are you weeping?" said Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Eliezer said, "Because I wish to study Torah." He's crying uncontrollably out of his desire to study the Torah. Have you never studied it? No. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai began to teach him the Shema and the Amidah, the Tefillah, and the grace after meals, and 2 rules of law every day. So here is the greatest sage of the time, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and he's taking this young adult by the hand, and he's teaching him Judaism 101. And then he takes it step by step by step by step. On the Sabbath, Rabbi Eliezer repeated the prayers and the rules until he memorized them. 8 days he kept at it without eating a thing, until the foul odor from his mouth attracted the attention of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Right? So he's coming to study with this great teacher. He's an amazingly devoted student. He has nothing to eat, and he's got a very bad case of halitosis. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai asked, "Eliezer, my son, did you eat anything at all today?" Silence. Yochanan ben Zakkai repeated the question. Again, silence. "By your life, today you will eat with me." So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai realizes the guy hasn't eaten anything, has nothing to eat at all. And he says, "Okay, you're coming over to my house for dinner." Eliezer said, "But I already ate at the place where I stay." Why did he say that? Why did he lie?
Because it's the Torah. He's talking about the Torah, maybe. Like a metaphor.
Is that what the Torah is? This is a metaphorical conversation. His teacher is saying, "You're coming to eat by me for supper. Come to my house for supper." No, it's okay. I already ate.
Because he wants to study Torah more.
He doesn't. He either studies Torah, or he doesn't want the rabbi to know that he has no money. He has no way of
He's ashamed.
Feeding himself.
He's ashamed, and he doesn't want to impose upon
He doesn't want
the
to be a
rabbi
burden to the rabbi.
for the physical stuff. He wants to be nourished. We could have a program at Nourished. That would be a bad idea. He wants to be nourished from the rabbi, but in the spiritual and intellectual realm of the Torah. But he's ashamed to take advantage of this relationship and impose upon the rabbi to feed him. So he lies. He says, no, I really have eaten. Remember, he didn't answer the first 2 times when he was asked, have you eaten already? He didn't want to lie. He just didn't say anything. Rabbi Yochanan said to his disciples, as you live, look into the matter. Right? So he takes one or two of his other students, and he says, do a little investigating. See if this young newcomer to our circle, see if this person really does have food to eat or not. I'm not going to challenge him. I'm not going to tell him he's lying. I'm not going to say, I don't care, come and eat dessert by me anyway. I'm going to preserve his dignity, but do a little sleuthing and see whether or not he really has food to eat. So his disciples went around all the streets of Jerusalem, inquiring at the inns. Do you have a guest who is a scholar? Do you have a guest who's a scholar? Right? They're going into all of the places where a person would be able to have room and board, so to speak, and they're trying to track him down. The reply was no, until they came to a woman who said yes. They asked, does he have anything here? She answered, he has a sack into which he puts his head and appears to suck from it as from a leather wine bottle. So she says, well, in terms of what his food does he have any food here that he eats from? Does he have any supplies? There's a bag. He sticks his head into a bag, and it looks like you can't really see what he's doing, but it looks like he's sucking something. Maybe he's got a bottle of wine in there, or a gourd of wine or something like that. They said, show it to us. She brought them the sack. When they opened it, they found it full of earth. Then they asked her, has Eliezer eaten anything in your place today? She replied, no. We thought he was eating at his master's house. Thus they realized that he had not eaten for 8 days. So his subterfuge has now been discovered. Everybody thinks somebody else is taking care of him. What's the image that we get of how he's somehow sustaining himself and surviving? He's eating earth.
Yeah, he's not really going to survive if he keeps doing it.
He's eating now. So actually, there is this whole phenomenon of dirt eating that is known to have been quite common in the South among poor people, among African American communities, where you actually were going to find some kind of nutrients by eating earth, by eating the dirt. So that's the image that we get here: completely extreme deprivation, and the most desperate kind of survival technique. But I think John mentioned the magic word metaphor before. We also have this other association that we might be able to make. Where does Rabbi Eliezer come from?
A wealthy family. Right?
Well, a wealthy family, but wealthy in the sense of they're farmers.
Land, yeah.
Right. They're connected to the earth for sure. And as far as the father is concerned, that's all that counts. He doesn't even spend time when the kid is not even old enough to really do any real serious work, to give him at least some kind of Jewish education. It's all about the earth. So on the one hand, we have Eliezer fleeing his very domineering father, fleeing the way of life that his father had insisted that he pursue. He flees to the world of Torah, but he has a bag of earth with him. He's carrying with him a bag of earth. They went and reported to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who then turned to Rabbi Eliezer. And remember, always calling him Rabbi Eliezer because that's who he became. At this point, he's just some young guy, right? Who then turned to Rabbi Eliezer and said, alas for you, Eliezer, so greatly neglected in our midst. But I say to you, even as foul breath rose out of your mouth before me, so shall the fragrance of Torah issuing out of your mouth travel from one end of the world to the other. So first he's, of course, sad and embarrassed that you've been with us for over a week and we haven't really treated you hospitably. So he's sort of apologizing and bemoaning that. And then he says, I want to bless you. Right now, what comes out of your mouth is a very, very foul odor. But one day what's going to come out of your mouth is the sweetest smelling Torah teaching that the whole world will benefit from. Same mouth. Then Rabbi Yochanan set up regular meals for Rabbi Eliezer, and he was healed. So he takes care of this need, this impoverished man. And remember, he's totally impoverished, he has nothing, although he is the son of a very rich family, right? But he himself has come with nothing and has nothing. So he sets up a meal plan for him, and he recuperates. For 3 years, he occupied himself with study in the presence of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So, and then this goes on for the next 3 years. This is his initiation into the community, and he becomes a constant student of this great rabbi. The other sons of Hyrcanus said to their father, see what our son Eliezer did to you? He left you in your old age, and he went off to Jerusalem. Go there and disinherit him. So Hyrcanus went to Jerusalem to disinherit Eliezer. Okay, so the plot thickens. The family drama that's going on here becomes a little more complicated and a little more ugly. Right? The brothers see Eliezer's act as an act of total betrayal. Right? Maybe they're really, really righteously angry. Maybe they really, really feel that what he did is an unforgivable sin. Or what else might we suppose or suggest? Anybody want to fill in? Josie, go ahead.
They want some more money. If he's disinherited, then there'll be more for them to divvy up.
Right. You know, are they interested in standing up for the principle of the thing, or what do they mean by the principle? Right, the principle of the inheritance. Right. You know what? Do they see an opportunity here to take advantage of their father's sense of being aggrieved, of being abandoned, and they, you know, they can say, okay, great, let's manipulate Pop. And we know he's really, really angry about this, and he feels that his son has been terrible to him, and we can really benefit and get that extra piece of inheritance. Shades of King Lear.
Yeah, or shades of Jacob.
What? Shades
of Jacob. We don't have to go as far as King Lear.
Well, in Jacob, it doesn't quite say that they really did it for monetary gain. They hated his guts because he was obnoxious and overweening.
You mean Joseph?
Joseph didn't want to leave the family, right? Josie, you wanted to say something?
Was John referring to Jacob and Esau?
No, Jacob and his sons.
You know, the brothers get rid of Joseph, remember? Right. But there the motivations are, I think, a little different. Yeah, this is ambiguous about, is it protecting their father's honor, or is it just plain they want to get more money?
More money.
But the point is that they actually persuade their father. Their father is ready to do this. He's really, really angry. It is said that day was a festal day for Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. All the notables of the city were dining with him, including Ben Tzitzit HaKeset, Nagdimon Ben Gurion, and Ben Kalba Savua. Right, so these are the three legendary richest people in Jerusalem. So this is taking place right before the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. Just one little side point: Ben Kalba Savua becomes the father-in-law of Rabbi Akiva. Right? We had that story about another poor shepherd who decides to study Torah, And when his daughter, Kalba Savua's daughter, falls in love with this poor illiterate shepherd, he disinherits her.
Yeah.
Right? He kicks her out of the house. So here we have a similar situation with Hyrcanus being ready to throw out his son into the street. And he's coming to confront his son and also the people who have taken in his son, right? Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who had the chutzpah to take him in. One of the things that might be going on in Hyrcanus's mind is, oh, who is this rabbi who's being so nice to my son? Maybe he's being nice to my son because he thinks that I'm going to be, one of his patrons.
Oh.
Maybe he thinks that if I'm nice to Eliezer, the son of Hyrcanus, there's a lot of money back there in Hyrcanus's, granaries. So, the rabbis are always out to, to skim off the top of the milk for themselves. So who knows what's going on in his mind? But he arrives to Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's academy on a day of a special dinner, special celebration, and all the VIPs are in attendance. When Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai heard that Hyrcanus had come, he said, "Make room for him." Thus, finding himself unexpectedly placed among the notables of the city, he sat trembling in their midst. It's one thing to be a rich man up there someplace in the sticks. It's another thing to come into Jerusalem and be placed in the VIP section with, the most famous and most wealthy people of the generation. So he's a little nervous. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai set his gaze upon Rabbi Eliezer and said, "Begin your discourse." Right? So for the Dvar Torah, he invites his student Eliezer to do the honors. So he says, "Okay, begin speaking." Rabbi Eliezer pleaded, "I cannot begin, for I am like a well which cannot bring forth more water than it draws. So too, I cannot utter more words of Torah than those I have received from you." So Eliezer says, I can't make up a speech of my own. I memorize what you tell me. I loyally and faithfully remember, record, study, review every single piece of Torah that you teach me, but I can't make up my own speech. Yeah, I can't give a Dvar Torah on my own and show some new insight and bring another angle. I can't do it. Sounds a little bit like some bar and bat mitzvah kids when they first told that they have to give a Dvar Torah and they freak out, right? And they go, "Oh no, what? Are you kidding? I have to do this?" So here is his master, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, telling him to do this, and Eliezer has a certain sense of himself. Yuel has a certain sense of himself, and he says, "I have certain gifts, I have certain skills, but I don't have others, and you can't ask me to do this. I'm a good memorizer." Rabbi Yochanan said, "My son, you are rather like a spring which wells up and brings forth water of itself. You are like such a spring." So the teacher doesn't take no for an answer. And the teacher contradicts the student's own sense of themselves. Right? The teacher is saying to Eliezer, "You think you can't do this. I know you can do it. I know that you have these gifts. You're not aware of them yourself, but I know that you have creative gifts. You are not just a well that passively holds on to the water that's poured into it. You are a spring that gushes forth, a fountain that can bring forth fresh water. I really believe in you, and I see things in you that you don't even see in yourself." Rabbi Yochanan pressed him. and the disciples pressed him. So all his other friends, all the fellow students started saying, Eliezer, go, 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 go. You know, like they're pushing him, they're pushing him. They're telling him, no, you can't say no. This is something you have to do, and you can do it. Yay. So he arose and delivered a discourse on things that no ear had ever heard before. Rabbi Eliezer's face was as radiant as the light of the sun. Rays came forth from him, like the rays that came forth from Moses, so that no one could tell whether it was day or night. So what happened? Somebody, in your own words, what do you think? What just happened here with Eliezer?
It's like a star is born, literally. You know, like he crossed the threshold, found his voice.
Right, he literally found his voice. He never knew he had this voice. He stumbled upon it the way he stumbled upon a pebble out in the furrowed field that he was able to suck on. But here, this is him, and he never knew it. Yeah.
But he needed the teacher's encouragement and support, or else it might never have happened.
Right. Right. If it was up to him, this never would have happened. The breakthrough never would have happened at all.
It's the teacher.
Right. So the teacher and there's the other students. Right.
Right. They're encouraged.
He's got friends. He's got a community that is encouraging him to try to do something that he really doesn't believe he can do. And then what actually happens when he does it is miraculous. Because what he says, the way the description is, things that no ear had ever heard before. He describes himself, he says, I can only be a parrot. You tell me 1 + 1 is 2. I can now say 1 + 1 is 2. I know it perfectly, right? But to start talking about non-Euclidean geometry, you know, I can't make that up. He's making stuff up. He's saying things that are completely new, that no one had ever said before and no one had ever heard before, including his own teacher, right? He's been transformed. He's been turned into literally this source of light and radiance. Since the days of Moses, there hasn't been a man with that kind of face shining. Right? This is the biblical image of Moses when he comes down from Mount Sinai. Right? And this is when Moses comes down from Mount Sinai, his face is shining because he's been in close contact with God. What makes Eliezer's face shine?
Same thing.
Is that so? Has he been on the top of Mount Sinai?
No, not literally, but it's the divine contact. He's made some sort of divine contact through the Torah.
How did he make that contact?
By adding to the Torah.
How? Did he climb up the mountain to reach God?
He said something never been heard before. He studied it.
How did he do it? Did he pray to God, please God?
No, he used his brain. He read and he interpreted and he brought things out that had never been seen before.
So he's been studying assiduously. He's a good student. But at this point, what happens is, I said the word before, it's a miraculous thing. He opens his mouth, and it's not him who's talking. Right? Because he never heard this stuff, and he's not thinking it through. It's not like he's been spending years working on the theory of relativity, and now he wants to tell the world something that he's thought of that nobody else. He hasn't thought of this stuff either. Right? He's taken over by a spirit that is, transcendent to himself. And many artists, sometimes feel that, in certain moments of inspiration, where it's more than me, right? It ain't me. It's something else. Yeah, John.
I've experienced that. I mean, it sounds strange, but I call it flow. You get in a certain place where your conscious brain is not really involved anymore. You're just making. And it does feel like it's not really you.
Yeah.
So is he like a prophet speaking for God?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say a prophet, but I say he's overtaken by the Holy Spirit. You know, he's overtaken. He's overwhelmed, and literally taken over. Overtaken. He's taken over by some great spiritual force and an intellectual force, a force of Torah. What it really is, the Torah has inhabited him, and the Torah just flows forth. And we have to dwell. I mean, I just love this whole thing. What had to happen in order for it to happen? What had to happen is he had to give up. He had to give up his resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's saying, I know myself perfectly. I know exactly what I can do and what I can't do. I know exactly what my talents are and what my limitations are. So I've got that kind of, I've done my work. I've done my work of know thyself. And now all of a sudden what has happened is he's been pushed into some unknown territory. And that unknown territory of the Torah gives him, in return for all the love that he has had for the Torah, he begins to be a mouthpiece, not so much a prophetic mouthpiece of God, a prophetic mouthpiece of the Torah. I want to bring up there are a number of images here, right? That his face was so radiant and so on.
Yeah,
but the image that is assigned to him by his teacher is, you're a spring of water, right? You're not just a well. Let's remember how our story was punctuated from the very beginning by moments of weeping, by moments of crying, by the water streaming out of his face, right? And he can't control it. It's not like he's decided to do I'm going to have myself a good cry, right? No, he can't help it. As soon as he's overcome by this emotion, the well springs of his own tears just open up and release. So there's this very emotional release. That's an emotional release, a spiritual release, an intellectual release that combines to then bring out teachings that were never ever imagined or heard before.
There's also a metaphorical connection of water to earth too. He's a spring.
Mm-hmm.
Arable or non-arable land can't grow anything without water.
There you go. That's right. We started that at the very beginning, right? The differences between those two kinds of land.
And also in a desert society, water is a very valuable commodity, image.
Water is the basis of life.
Yeah.
Right?
I had a friend from Egypt who said water has magical powers if you come from a country that's a desert. Yeah.
There you go. Right. Then Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai stood up and kissed him on his head and said, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, how happy are you that such a son has issued from your loins. Okay, so now we're back in the real world. We're back in after the magical, mystical fountain of Torah has been experienced. The teacher afterwards stands up and he gives him an embrace. He kisses him. That's, such a blessing and a very fatherly thing to do, right? A very paternal expression of love. Kiss him on the head, and then he reinforces that image when he says, "Oh, how fortunate and blessed are our avot, our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because look at the son that they have. Look at this wonderful child that has been born to them, that has come out of their loins. This amazing young man, this Eliezer." And of course, what do you think the next turn in the story is? Who's going to be mentioned next?
His father.
Of course. Hyrcanus, right? The true biological father who's been in the audience the whole time. Hyrcanus asked, to whom is he saying this? So Hyrcanus had come to look up his son and disinherit him, but he doesn't even recognize his son anymore. It's been years since he's seen him. He doesn't know what his own son looks like. To whom is he saying this? When told to your son, Eliezer, he said, Hyrcanus said, Rabbi Yochanan should not have spoken thus. He should have told me to say, how happy am I that such a one has issued from my loins. Right? So he gets the hint. He gets the literary hint. And he goes, oh, I'm the father of this guy. Not bad. Not bad. He should have given me a mazel tov and a yesher koach. But of course, why should he?
He didn't do it.
Everything that Eliezer did was despite his father's opposition. But this is his giving in, right? This is, I never did anything to help my kid graduate college, but now that he graduated college, I'm going to take all the credit.
Yeah.
Right? Hyrcanus is now finally proud of his son. Is he really proud? What do you think?
He's a jerk.
I don't think he knows whether to be proud or not because he doesn't know him.
Well, now he knows the facts. Now he knows the facts that his runaway son, who he thought was a good for nothing, has actually become this brilliant scholar that is recognized by everybody, and who actually is standing there in front of all the VIPs of Jerusalem.
He's looking for the reflected glory.
Yeah.
So that's the question again, right? We have this. We've had it before. What are the motives? Are there mixed motives? Are there impure motives? Are there pure motives going on? We have Eliezer, who's been crying from the beginning of the story. I love the Torah. That's all I want. And he runs away and throws everything else away. He's ready to sacrifice everything. He's the example of the person who has the absolutely pure motives to do what he's doing, no matter what happens. The brothers, we weren't quite sure about what was going on in their hearts. And now we're not quite sure if the father is actually doing tshuva. Is he really repenting? Is he really now saying, oh, what a mistake I made. I regret everything that happened. Or is he trying to get into the limelight? Is he trying to, take advantage? The brothers wanted to take advantage to get more inheritance. Is he trying to take advantage of his own son now? Then Hyrcanus climbed up on a bench and declared in the presence of the people of Jerusalem, Masters, I came here for no other purpose than to disinherit my son Eliezer. But now, all my possessions will be given to my son Eliezer, while his brothers are to have no portion whatever in them. Okay, so now we got the twist and turn of the story going the other way. Now Dad completely does a reversal. He says, oh, I thought my sons were looking out for me, but now I see that I can get more glory from Eliezer. Or maybe he really genuinely now says, wow, I was so wrong and I wanted to take everything away from him. How can I make up for that bad intention? And he goes overboard the other way.
Yeah. Not a good father so far.
What?
Not such a good father. What about the other guys?
Right. So all of a sudden he's punishing the other guys just because he appreciates this one son. Sounds a little bit like Jacob, right? With the brothers. So we have a mixed picture about this man. Is he just, does he have these conflicting emotions and just doesn't know how to handle it? Doesn't know how to make the right wise decision? So in other words, in short, he's a human being. Eliezer said to Hyrcanus, his father, had I sought landed properties, the Blessed Holy One would have given them to me. For the verse says, The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Everything belongs to God. And if I really wanted that kind of earthly wealth, I could have asked for it from God, and God would have given it to me. Had I sought silver or gold, he would have given them to me. For the verse says, mine is the silver and mine is the gold, says the Lord of hosts. So all of this material wealth, I could have gotten it straight from God. I sought from the Holy One nothing other than the Torah. So he says, Dad, I appreciate it, but that's not what means anything to me. Giving me all your possessions is not what I want. Right? What I want is Torah. And what would be beautiful is if you said, oh, I am so proud of you that you study Torah and that you are opening your mouth and teaching Torah to the world. That's worth more than all the money. You're not going to buy my love with the money. You're not going to, persuade the world that you care by giving me all of the wealth. Right? That's not what I want. What I really want is Torah. So that's the end of this section of the story. From Sefer Haggadah, as I said, there was these are selections from rabbinic literature. I'll just end up with two tiny little selections that are related to what we just heard. And this is a saying from Pirkei Avot. We'll eventually get there in Bite-Sized Wisdom, probably in another 22 years or so. It's in the second chapter of Pirkei Avot, the description of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer is like a plastered cistern, which does not lose a drop, like a flask coated with pitch, which retains its wine. So this is a description that is in sync with what description that we heard before. We heard the description of Rabbi Eliezer before that is very much along the same lines as this. I'm sorry that somebody's... John.
I said...
what?
Ben Zakkai said you're like a spring, but he's also like a well that can keep the water.
That's it. So there was an argument between, or if you could say it, a disagreement between Rabbi Eliezer, his own self-understanding, how he described himself, and his teacher, how the teacher saw him. Rabbi Eliezer saw himself as a repository of received knowledge, as an accurate, complete, thorough, reliable memorizer of everything that was ever taught to him. He could be trusted to be the safeguard of this, the guardian of that wisdom. And that's what we have here. He's like a plastered cistern which does not lose a drop. Right? It's a rain barrel, but there's no leaks because it's been plastered up so that there are no cracks, there's no seams, and all of the water that goes in there is never lost. It's reliably, trustworthily there. You'll have it there. So this is the description of Rabbi Eliezer, and this is the description that went on for the rest of his life. So if we think back to the story that we just read about his beginnings, there's actually now a certain kind of sadness, to me anyway, a little poignancy involved in the story, because that miraculous transformation that happened with him, that moment when he opens up his mouth and just the Torah just pours out, and new Torah and new insights and the creative, amazing speech that he gives. Nobody ever thought of it. Nobody ever said it before. That moment, it now turns out, when we look in retrospect over the sweep of his life, was a very unique moment. You could say it was a flash in the pan. You could say that it was the one time in his life when he overcame his own his own sense of who he was. For the rest of his life, Rabbi Eliezer will be respected and revered, and even people will be in amazement and awe of his prodigious memory, of his prodigious sweep of knowledge, but he will not be the creative wellspring for the Jewish people that other sages will be. That doesn't happen again, at least not in a consistent way, not in enough of a way to actually change the memory of who he was in our tradition as it was codified by the public during his own life. So in that sense, then we have to sort of sit back and go, wow, for one brief shining moment, he experienced a completely different way of being. He completely came out of his own skin, or like the spring water. He actually was he came out of the cistern. He came out of the spring. He was the water that burst forth out of his own self. And then apparently it never really happened again.
That's sad. But maybe it means you can't sustain that kind of, intensity and openness your whole life. You have to go do something as become a teacher or a leader, which is what he did, right? He became a
kind of like
Eileen, yeah.
It just, what popped into my head was that it's like a child prodigy who reaches 12 or 13 and then is perhaps talented, but that spark never comes back.
Mm.
May I add something?
Rita, yes.
This is a lesson for all of us. It's an old saying by Jean Piaget, who was a child philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
The saying is, I listen, I forget. I do, I remember. No, I'm sorry. Listen, I forget. I do, I remember. I do. Okay, I'm sorry, I blew it. But the last one is I do and I understand. So it's only by doing that you're going to fulfill not only yourself,
but other people,
but help other people.
All right. So thank
Okay.
you. We're gonna stop at that point, and there's more to think about here, and I hope this maybe will stay with you a little bit.
All right,
and we'll continue with the story of Rabbi Eliezer and the rest of his career, God willing, next week. And I hope I'll be able to actually then make copies or make a PDF so that we'll be able to share it with each other, and you can follow along. Thanks a million.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Powerful.
Thank you. Bye.